Here are some more thoughts on the Course of Miracles. Last time I posted one of these, I talked about that part of the mind, the destructive part of the mind, which is always in conflict and creating difficulties for us as individuals. I want to go into that in a bit more detail today. The Course of Miracles calls that part of our mind the ego, and it describes the ego as a part of the mind which, for some reason, at some point in the development of humanity, at some point, this part of the mind decided that it was separate from everything else. It was separate from who we actually are. It was separate from the mind that we actually are. And this part started to say, we are different. We are separate. And then eventually, over time, it produced this incredible disruption, disputes, conflicts, and a complete misunderstanding of who we are as people. That's what the Course of Miracles is telling us. At the time that happened, at the time that separation happened, that's called a separation. At the time that new thinking began, which was we are separate, we are limited, we're going to die. There is no eternity. There's no such thing as eternity. There's no such thing as now. There's the past and there's the present. And in the present, we're going to die. We're going to get sick and we're going to die. And that's it. That's the end of you. This is the ego's definition. So at the time that occurred, God understood that a part of his mind, which is us, was starting to think this way. And so he implanted in us a connection to him, which we call, it's called in the Course of Miracles, the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is I use the analogy, it was an app which was developed by God and downloaded into every single mind of his creations, us individuals who think we are individuals, but in fact are just aspects of this central mind, the central theme. And, it's not a unique idea actually, in the sense that it just comes from the Course of Miracles, because I've seen that same idea expressed particularly in Jungian psychology, and Jungian talks about the super consciousness over all of us. There's a connection between all of us, which is a consciousness of which we all are. And then we have our individual consciousnesses, which is the part that we separate out as the ego. Now, where's the problem? Well, the problem is, obviously you can see where the problem is the nature of what the ego tells us. But also, the other problem is that we're born into the world of the ego and we have no real concept of what we are or who we are. The Course of Miracles is really strong about how we are, in fact, not using our incredible potential for creativity and our incredible the reality of who we are, of peace and joy. So we've fallen away, or we've separated out our thinking, and we've created this part of our mind, which we now call the ego. And we've done that through instruction by being born into this world and being raised in this world. So everybody around us instructs us on how to live. You can see that when you watch young children. I've got a couple of great grandchildren, and you can see immediately what's happening. They are being socialized by all of us into developing an ego, which says you are on your own, you've got to look after yourself, you've got to be responsible, you're bad, you're good, blah, 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 blah. Right up to the level, we can see the ego operating right up to the level of international politics, of countries bombing each other, invading each other, and killing each other. This is the ego's effect, if you like, in everywhere, in all places on this world. It restricts us to this concept of a miserable life of conflict. So how do we get back? Well, we listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit within us. What is this voice? I claim that this voice is very similar to your conscience. We listen to the conscience, and also we start through an active process of forgiveness. We forgive those people that our ego tells us are bad and wrong and have done wrong against us. We forgive them, and then we start to see them as innocent. We start to see them as victims the same as us. We also start to see the Holy Spirit within them. We start to see the goodness within them. This is a huge leap, a huge leap. It's part of what the Course calls the atonement, the atonement, coming back to God, coming back to the using the Holy Spirit to travel back to God. And in the Course of Miracles, the narrator, Jesus, makes it very clear that the only decision that he made, which makes him different from us, is that he decided just to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit. He learned and practiced how to listen to just the one voice of the Holy Spirit, which is peace, joy. How do I deal with my neighbours? I forgive them. And this goes straight through to the Bible's teachings. And some of the reported teachings of Jesus in the Bible, where he talks about loving one's enemies, loving one's brother, and forgiveness, constantly turning the other cheek and forgiving, so that you don't experience the negative effects of your ego's attack on your brother, your sister, your fellow person. When you attack or you are offended and defend, you immediately lose the battle, because you're now back into the world of the ego. You've now entered the world of the ego, where most of us live most of the time. So let's get out of that. Let's get out of that. How do we get out of that? Well, we just talked about it, haven't we? We ask the Holy Spirit to guide us, and we forgive. Constantly forgiving. Forgive until you actually see the beauty of the person that you're forgiving. Do you actually see their spirit shining through? I've had this experience from time to time where I've forgiven and forgiven and forgiven, and then I start to see the person differently. I see them as just a human being, another human being, requiring my love and support rather than my attack and criticism. The world teaches us so easily, and we've learned this lesson so deeply, to attack and defend. And Jesus was talking about forgiveness and supporting and loving. It's a huge, huge lesson. And therein lies peace. Therein lies the peace. The peace comes from forgiveness, support and love of your fellow person, the person around you. You don't have to go far to find them. They're right there. Anyway, that's enough for a while.